Continuing here, it's a little Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young from Woodstock, going way back. But anyhow, listen. I wanted to finish my sentence there, and we can say we may not like somebody, okay, but we can still love them, and we can give them slack. It's like we need slack. We know that some people don't like us. We know that we don't even like ourselves sometimes. We know that we could be our own worst enemy at times. And what I'm trying to convey to people is we need to ask why that is. What's going on? Is it all just the organic problems we have, issues, psychological, emotional issues that we have? What makes us so immature as a species? What is wrong with us? What screw is loose in humanity, our species, our civilization? I mean, you look at the history and oh my God, there's something very wrong with this picture, man. Okay, if the good guy doesn't eventually win this thing, it's going to make one bad movie, okay? You don't want to watch. One bad book, for the most part. Okay, we've got to understand that it's going to take unity, and love being the most powerful force in the universe is the key to understanding this. And it's about God. It's not about religion. It's about logic. It's about saying the earth is God's, not a religious statement. To believe in God, don't give me this religious crap. If it's a pejorative, then it's for the birds. It's not me. I'm just trying to be a good guy, that's all, as opposed to a bad guy. We know there's good guys and bad guys. Good guys do good, bad guys do bad. There's right and there's wrong. It has to do with ethics. It has nothing to do with religion or the church. Logic. It's God's planet because none of us created it. None of us can own it. Ownership is delusional. We're all passing through. We know that from a very early age. A very insecure period of time. We never know when we're going to be dead. Today, maybe. It's not being negative or morbid. It's being scientific and factual to make that statement. I find it exhilarating. Wow, where am I going from here? What's it like on the other side of the veil? I don't want to push it, man. I want to live to be 120, like promised in Genesis chapter 6. Nevertheless, I don't know. I could have a stroke, a heart attack, take my life right at this moment. Hell, a tree could fall on me. There's big enough ones right nearby. Crush me like a bug. Stray bullet. It happens. So, here we are. We got to get it together, man. We got a little window of opportunity to get right values and get straight in our minds what this thing is all about, what our job is, what our mission is fighting the good fight. What are you doing? It's if you don't have a reason, a purpose, why are you here? Don't you want to leave it a little better than when you came? I mean, believe in God, believe there's going to be accountability and answerability, and, being a good guy pays off. Being a bad guy doesn't. All you got awaiting you, man, is Hades. You get separated from the righteous. You don't get to push them around, bully them around, enslave them right under their noses anymore and call it freedom. Okay, it's slavery. They've normalized slavery in America. And the Federal Labor Department, that's why I'm always harping on those people. That's why that's so evil. What a devious, diabolical scheme, plan. They use the Federal Labor Department. They're the ones responsible. Think about it. And they could have stopped this whole thing, this wealth imbalance nipped it at the bud. Every year, if the cost of living is being manipulated, they know it. You look around, if your eyes are open, they know about supply and demand. They know, well, was there a genuine disruption in the supply chain? Is that why the prices are going up so much? Because I'm accountable to the federal minimum wage workers. I'm running the Labor Department here, the Federal Labor Department. I've got the master's degree, the PhD, the Harvard degree. All the acronyms behind my name. That's who they hire for these jobs. The most learned ones in this bad religious system, this establishmentarianism, status quoism. So don't tell me these people don't know how to calculate the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, to say, hey, wow, employers are not going to like this. But minimum wage is going up this year because there you go, right over there. Look at them. Judge correctly, blame correctly. Those people were manipulating markets. They were colluding. They were rigging, fixing prices. Why? Well, let's look at the motivation, the incentive. Profit. Oh, who would ever think of such a thing? Why would anybody do stuff for money, for profit? No, not in this world. Unthinkable, unimaginable, delusional to think that could ever. No, we know it happens. And then the rubber meets the road right there. Nipped at the bud, stopped in its tracks. Because they had to answer to the employers all over America, in every single city and county and state in America. Yeah, how's that going to fly? And it's 100% justified and 100% unjustified to not do so. Like giving them a pay decrease. Same thing, mathematically speaking. The fact, it's irrefutable. It's inarguable. It's undebatable. Hell, any of these economic experts, their heads would pop. Lock them in a room for 10 minutes and make them debate me. We'll see what happens. We'll see. When they got to hear, they'll try plugging their la 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 la. I'll start quoting Adam Smith in his book, The Wealth of Nations. We talk about what's really valuable. You're printed money. You're making stuff up, buying the world up fraudulently. You bunch of liars, deceivers. That's who's running this establishmentarian status quoism system. Evil men. Evil, mean people. Mean. Don't care. They're the kind of people that walked up on those sheriff deputies down in L.A. that were sitting outside some train station trying to protect the public. A man and a woman. I mean, this guy got in their blind spot, yet good analogy, good allegory here, because, hey, it's just like that. What's what they've done to we the people. They've tricked us. Remember, the Constitution stands for we all the people, not we some of the people. But they snuck up on us. They got in our blind spot. And they used the Labor Department to do this. See how tricky that is? Wow. That's good. I mean, if you're playing chess with these people, you better think devious, man. Like Jesus said, he said, be as shrewd as serpents and as innocent as doves. Those cops never should have had that blind spot. I mean, there's room for innovation right there. I'm thinking of some camera that's in their face that's as easy as looking at anything right there. They can't avoid looking at the camera of their blind spot. It's right in their face, man. It's right there. If they're, no matter where they're looking in their vehicle, they're going to see behind them. It was very predatorial. And that's how these people are. Predatorial. Predators, vultures, mean people. They want to kill people. And then they go and they commiserate together. Oh, poor us. We've got to save this planet. And poor planet, The sorrow for the planet. So, we're the good guys. God's appointed us, our God, Lucifer, Satan. And some of them don't even think about it. They just go along with that. Like minions, mindless minions that go along with it. So it gets the job done. They got the critical mass of evil people. Don't value conscience. Don't value a relationship with God. No. The meaner, the better. It's to save the planet, you see. That's how they rationalize it in their sick minds, to get rid of people. So, yes, of course they don't lie, steal, cheat, murder, genocide. Yeah. So that's who we're up against here. And you think we don't need God's help to pull us out of it? We need God's help big time, my friends. And that's the only way the decent people are going to get anything done, make any progress in this good fight, is that God's hand is in it. It's going to get done. I mean, ultimately, I'm very optimistic. I'm very positive. But that comes from having this much faith and just believing this would be a nightmare. There's got to be a God. There's got to be. But I'm very clingy to that God. I know that, hey, man, without God, I'm done. I don't want nothing to do with this thing. I'm out of here. I'd have lost my will to live a long time ago without a little bit of faith. Because if it's just destined, this whole planet for all eternity goes to these evil men, and I'm in hell then. I'm in hell forever. I'm stuck here forever. And that can't be, because my values are opposite of these people. I value my conscience. I want to be accountable, answerable. I want right values, and there's a reason. There's a God, man. We're designed. None of us created ourselves. We didn't create the planet. It belongs to all of us. Yes, it's not radical to say from birth that we should divvy up the shares. Money becomes, it's irrelevant. Money, we're all born rich. Forget dollars and money of any form. You got the assets, the resources, and that includes each other's labors. However we choose to use our labors, our talents, we're compelled because of God made us that way instinctually. You understand? You must serve or else you're not going to be content. Try it. Try it. Try to not serve. Try to not give of yourself to other people. It's impossible. We're not made to do that. We cannot ever get comfortable with that. We're totally unsatisfied, totally ungratified, totally discontent. So we will serve each other. You understand? Even knowing that we're born rich. So it's even silly to hand over the shares. It's just got to be an acknowledgement. It's got to be a whole new reality from birth. And we could start implementing that right now by just saying, well, let's look at it like this. We divvy up the earth's resources, and everybody alive on earth gets their fair share. And it's readjusted with every life, every death. It gets readjusted. But your money, your value, it's supposed to go up in worth. Any form of capitalism, it goes up. So we just get richer, all of us, collectively. So we've got an oversupply of all the things we need, first and foremost, but other things we want too. You understand? I mean, if people wanted, they could all eventually wear Rolex watches. And in the meantime, it could work like a lottery. As long as it's fair and above board and everything, yeah, that's fine. So there's 100 Rolex watches and 1,000 people want them. So it's just one example of countless examples for how to ration fairly, where everybody, that's painless. Yeah, I'll live without a Rolex. It's like, yeah, but sure, I'll like one when we can produce enough. So you understand, so we get ahead of ourselves with supply and demand, and eventually there's no demand for anything. We got so many houses everywhere in the world. Any of us can go and live anytime we want, for as long as we want, anywhere at all. We serve how we want, who we want, where we want, when we want. End of story. Are only answerable to our conscience. So if you want to call me radical for believing that, look, if you could imagine it, it's possible. It could be realized. It could be actualized. It's as simple as that. Ask any scientist, any technologist. That, it's like, yeah, I mean, if you can envision it and draw it on paper and talk to other people, you get involved and, with other minds involved, it comes to fruition. It's manifested. That's how all our technology came to be. It's all from God. God gave us a brain, and that's why all the technology, all the infrastructure, all the accomplishment of humanity throughout the ages is because God gave us a brain. We didn't make our own brain any more than we made the planet. Our parents did very little. Nobody owns it. There was no ownership. It's all usership. So our shares in the planet, when we pass along, they stay here, right? We can't even keep our own body. So how can you own anything? It's delusional just to believe that, but how many people believe in ownership? And our laws, all these laws of legalism, the religionism, this bad religion, the status quoism, just wants to keep this going and working for the rich and maintaining their wealth maintenance, right? Wealth preservation, whatever they call it. I get it. And we all need to get it and demand justice. And that's all we can do. But remember, the heavy lifting's got to be left to God, because I'm not willing to use violence, but I am willing to warn the evildoers, repent or perish. The writing's on the wall. Knowledge is just going to keep increasing. So I'm basing what I believe on scientific principles. Just like osmosis, I'm trying to explain to people why you could be totally removed and the problems of society don't have to affect you directly at all. But through osmosis, through the fact that God made it as a fail-safe, a default position, that you're going to get your share through osmosis of suffering. If there's suffering on the planet, unnecessary human suffering, not the necessary stuff, that's all that organic stuff I talked about earlier. That's across the board. That's necessary. Diseases and all the natural disasters, that affects all of us. None of us are exempt from that. But it's the other stuff that people are going through. That's going to bother you. That's going to weigh on your conscience because God is letting it. You understand? It's osmosis. Through osmosis, you get your fair share of suffering. And you know that's true on a very basic, instinctual level. It's like that song that goes back to the 70s by the Rolling Stones, right? He just went down to the demonstration to get his fair share of abuse. That's how we are. We want to get in the fray. We want to say, what's up here? How can I help? How can I fix it? There's that instinct of us to want to fix it because we've got a righteous, decent, godly